Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new episode of Entrepreneurship Lab. This is your host, Nevena Bajalac, welcoming you once again. And I'm very excited to talk and have you listen to today's episode because I have special guests. And we're going to talk about something very unique, something that's maybe not for everyone, but you're going to for sure learn a lot. So my guest today is coming to us from New Zealand, and her name is Sophie Howard. And Sophie is an online business investor, and she has built successful online businesses years ago. She sold businesses, and now she is an expert in acquiring online businesses and creating that passive income for herself. So Sophie, welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Nevena. Great to be here and really looking forward to our conversation.
Yes, me too. So you're a mom, you're a successful businesswoman, you're really an inspiration, and you will be inspiration to so many people that's going to hear about you and listen this episode. So I want you just to tell us a little bit your background. How did you start with Amazon and online business? And yes, then we're going to take it from there. So give us a little bit of background about you and how everything started.
Sure. So, like you and many of your listeners, I'm a mum. So I've got a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old now. So when my daughter, the 9-year-old, was born, I really just couldn't face juggling that day job, the lack of sleep, the commuting, the paying for the childcare. Everyone was always sick. You think you've got a system, and then the nanny's sick, then one child's sick, then another one's sick, then I get sick, and round it goes. Hideous. So decided we needed to redo the lifestyle in a way that was serious income, like not a hobby business. If I was quitting my day job, which was a good job, it had to be a proper money earning serious venture, not, let's start a blog and retire in 20 years and maybe make some money in 5. It was, this has to work straight away. So I started an Amazon business, and maybe some beginner's luck, but I had a great first product, made a lot of money very quickly, so much I was like tripping over myself. It was so fast. So quality problem, no complaints, but I sold that business after about 2 years. So I started in 2013, I sold it in 2015 for over $1 million. And I started that with $75 for the first order and never borrowed anything, had a lot of products. It went really well. I loved product businesses. So that was a good run, but all things come to an end or change. And the margins were getting tighter. Amazon was getting more expensive on fees. The shipping was really unreliable and variable and hard, doable, still doable, but harder than it had been. So I started looking around for another thing that wasn't quite so full of other sophisticated marketers, where it might be easier going. And I started selling ebooks. So that was really good. And I'm still doing lots and lots of ebooks now. I think ebooks on Amazon is a great model. And for someone starting out, that's a really good place if you want to build something yourself. But also a whole new game, which hardly anyone talks about, and I've just written a book on this, is buying online businesses. And you'd think, you have to be some sophisticated investor and really tech savvy and have buckets of money to spend. But actually, there's a lot to love about buying something that already works, that has a proven product or service, that has a team with it, maybe standard operating procedures, and just you pick up the cash flow and you pay for it. You generally pay about 3 times the annual profit to buy it outright, but you can often stagger the payments. So if you compare it to, having a mortgage on a property, or how much money you would have to have tied up in a kind of a fund to give out those sorts of payouts each year, I can't beat it. I think it's just the best way ahead. And while I love building my own businesses, I've still got lots of projects of my own. I'm growing and building from scratch. I love it, but it's not as easy as buying one. And so I'm a bit of a convert. So, and that's rich coming from me, because I love building businesses. I love the thrill of figuring out what's going to work as you start a business. I love that energy of the chaos and picking your game plan and resourcing it by being really clever, not because you've got tons of cash. Love that game. But buying a business is a very, very nice way to operate, I've decided. Far easier, far less stress, far more certainty, and just quicker to the finish line, which is having that income stream, and you've got financial freedom and time freedom.
Thank you, Sophie. That's so inspiring. And can you tell the listeners, they know they're going to say, okay, but she sold her business for $1 million. She obviously had some money to invest. Can you tell us about some myths and some things that people think about purchasing and acquiring a business? So we break, that kind of mindset and we actually understand some facts.
Yeah. So just sort of on the financial front, I did sell a business for a lot of money, and I got paid one afternoon as I was in the States actually at the time. And as I walked onto the plane to fly back home to New Zealand, the money landed in my bank account and I wired it across and cleared the mortgage. Gone. I was like, that was cool. Should do that again sometime. But after that, I went through a divorce. We live in a really expensive resort town. And actually, a couple of years later, I suddenly owed the bank $2 million to kind of keep ownership of the family home and sort out family finances. And I basically was pretty much at the start. I didn't sit there on a big pile of cash forever, and I had to, start at the bottom of the heap because it's an expensive process. And that was quite sobering because I'd sort of just thought, this money will last forever. And you actually need ongoing income. Like to get just a single lump sum, it needs to be enormous, way, way bigger than you think, because there's, tax and just the cost of living, everything just eats away at it. Brokers' fees on that sale, there was a lot taken away. And so what I did was I did 1 day a week coaching to build up that cash flow again, really instant cash. I don't mind working really hard if it keeps me away from borrowing or having to deal with business partners. I want to keep things really simple in terms of my own businesses that I own and operate. So kept it really simple, did some coaching. I work with a partner on the marketing side, like I do have a business partner for that coaching business now, but I didn't at the start. And that's gone really well because I don't need to do that front end piece, which is great for everyone. But through the growth of those businesses, I learned what kind of business models I really like and where a lot of expenses can just disappear out your hard-earned income, which I don't like seeing. So I don't like Facebook ads in a business. I don't like having a big team. I don't like any physical space. I like to be at home. This is actually my daughter's old bedroom, and I've rearranged the house a bit. So I think I'd been at the kitchen table for 8 years before we did a garage conversion and moved everyone around a bit. So while I've had success, it's always been quite hard work. I've never been just lying on a beach rolling in cash or anything. I've always had a new project or, something I'm working really hard to make succeed. So the businesses I've been buying have ranged in size. So some of them have been like a $1,000 WordPress website, which might not make any money at all yet, but there's a bunch of content there and I can see a strategy to get ads on the side and affiliate links in the text. And that will very, very passively lead to a small but steady income stream that will grow over time, but takes zero time to manage. And then I've bought big businesses. I bought some 6-figure businesses that were sort of strategic, and I knew the industry, I knew the business model, they fitted in with other stuff I was doing. And I also got really key staff or standard operating procedures or databases of clients. So the ones where I've spent more money, it's been for sort of more than just the cash flow. It's been like a strategic acquisition. But I don't like that word acquisition because it's real kind of Wall Street finance boys doing merger and acquisition stuff. And I'm not that sort of person. I don't play in that big league. I like really small, really simple businesses. One of the best ones I bought is a $10 a month subscription business to some design templates. And I pay one designer once to create this bundle and some keywords every month. And every month, hundreds and hundreds of people pay me $10 each for that bundle of stuff. And they use it in their publishing businesses. And it's cool. I do very little active work on that business, and it generates thousands of dollars every month, like $6,000 or so every month. And I do nothing. And I paid 100 and something thousand for that one, sort of mid 100s. But the return on investment is way higher than any business, any stocks, any property. I can't think of anything else I could have put my money into that's got a return like that, sort of 30-odd%. I've got a newsletter business that's very, very simple. And every day those authors self-load their books they want to promote in there and pay to be in the daily deal of the day newsletter. And it's a great business model. They self-serve, they check out on PayPal themselves. And the only work I do is once a week look to see how much money it's made. It's just absolutely 100% automated for my side. And so if I was on a tighter budget or starting out, I'd be a little bit more hands-on than some of those bigger ones I've bought that came with a staff member or a contractor in place. I don't have any staff, they're all freelancers. So you could start small and build up a little portfolio of very small sites, learn a bit about growing them as you go. And you don't need to jump in at the deep end and do a really big, ambitious purchase before you know what you're doing. But I very quickly got really comfortable with what to look for, what to avoid, what questions to ask, which platforms, which business models. And I'd absolutely fizz over all that stuff. I love picking apart how they make money and can I improve them. So I still get to sort of scratch that entrepreneurial itch about growing a business, but I just have a bit of a head start and cash flow on day one, which is really nice.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. So you already mentioned a couple of things. So can you tell us maybe your checklist of what are you looking for in the business? And then later on, we can talk about what mistakes you did and maybe what should people avoid when they're buying online.
All right. Oh, two good things there. Yeah, brilliant. So things I look for that I like an aged site. So there's a lot of things that look a bit too good to be true and they're 6 months old and, they went wild on Shopify. So I keep away from physical products. I keep away from anything that runs on social media paid ads. I don't like things you can't control or that could be switched off or the costs go up. And I like to look for something like a WordPress site that's been indexed on Google for years and years, not 6 months. So at least a year or two old minimum. I like really steady traffic, not seasonal and not spiky, steady. The best business models have recurring weekly or monthly income, a community with a paid membership or a newsletter with a subscription or that template design business that has a monthly, just a $10 subscription. It's very low friction for the customers and it really accumulates with hardly any costs. And the customers are easy, they're not demanding pounds of flesh and one-on-one meetings. They receive their email and they're really happy and they've got something valuable for $10. So I like simple. I want to ideally buy a business that I would be the customer of myself. If I was buying that type of product, I would choose that one and I understand and can get in the head of the customer. So I know if I'm doing a good job for them and can think ahead of what are the features they'd like or how, a business to business offer is always better for me, just the way I think I like communicating with other business owners. I know how we think. I know when I'm running my business, what would help me and what would just be annoying and useless. And so I try and buy businesses that are more B2B rather than consumer product businesses, but not all, but they're usually really good because they're more recession proof. People get value and pay for value, whereas something you buy as a one-off, it's a bit hard to keep that running forevermore. You're always having to drum up new customers, whereas a business-to-business relationship's great. If I had all the time in the world and all the budget in the world, which none of us do, I would do more of a software as a service play. So I've got one in the works, which I fully own and I started from scratch. But I see some of those for sale that look so cool. You've got this really low cost of delivering the product. You've got these really clever developers with great features and services to the person using the software. But you've got to really be a marketer and run a development team and operate the thing. There's a lot of moving parts there. So that's a big game with a bigger payout when you get it right and huge profit margins and huge valuations if you sell. So we love those. But they are a bit of an undertaking. It's not a part-time passive job to run a SaaS business. So those are the things I like. What I keep clear of are dodgy platforms that you can't migrate. So I tried to buy one business that was set up on Gumroad, but we discovered that you can't actually migrate those customers over to another platform. They have to resubscribe. So it wasn't like we could just do some tech thing in the background and I'd collect their payments in the future. So we lost a bunch, which was good because I'd had an agreement with the vendor. I'd only pay for the customers that came over to my side. And also people that have set things up in a messy way is really hard to untangle. All the correspondence went to their private email. The payments went to their private PayPal. You cannot move that stuff around and drag it apart later to sell. So the nice thing about working on the big platforms that sell these businesses, so there's two big marketplaces I really recommend if you're thinking about doing this. One's flippa.com, flippa.com. And the other one that's a bit bigger deals is Empire Flippers. And there's also Quiet Light as well. But those brokerage sites are really good. They screen all their listings. So somebody who really understands Google Analytics gets in behind the scenes with the vendor and double checks everything with them on a live call. They see the analytics. They see the Stripe account for payments. They see the social media back stuff. They see everything. So that's really cool. They see databases. Is it really as big as they say? And so the shortlist you draw off looking off Flipper, say, they're really quality sites. You know exactly what's listed is what you're going to get. So you need to do your own detailed due diligence, but that makes it pretty easy just to have a quick look against your criteria. And it could be you want to generate 5K a month. So that would be, multiply it out. So basically you generally pay 3 times the annual profit. So if we had, say, 60K year income, you'd be paying 180-ish upfront if it was all cash on a straight deal. Now, you can normally get the vendors to agree to installments of payments. So that's called vendor finance. And that spreads out your payments, which is really cool. And honestly, there's so many more businesses for sale than there are buyers that you can usually get a really good discount on the price. So whatever the asking price is, the broker will be pushing it along and talking it up, but actually sometimes that vendor's just checked out and some straightforward cash up front and gone and deal done is really appealing to them, and the actual dollar value meeting their initial price isn't their biggest concern, and you can get a really good business at a great price.
That's very helpful. Thank you. And we're going to make sure that we description this episode put all the details. So if anyone wants to reach out, they can come to you. So tell us a little bit more. You also coach, right? You did so many things. So if people want to learn from you, get your support, I believe in coaching. I'm where I am as well, because I always have coaches and consultants, and I'm also coach and consultant. So tell us a little bit more about your work, and if somebody wants to come, how do you work? Do you work in programs, individual programs? And people can then obviously come and you would advise them, guide them in this process. So tell us a little bit more about your work.
Yeah, well, I love coaching. I actually used to teach entrepreneurship in a university before I ever had my own business, like 3 jobs ago when I was still an employee. I worked in a university and taught this because I love it. And I went to MIT and did the entrepreneurship program there, the residential one. And I just love the subject of, how to create smart businesses that are kind of not obvious. I don't want to be a big corporate player. I don't want to build an empire, but I love little clever businesses that do cool stuff. So I'm really passionate about it. And I've taught ever since I've been doing my own thing. I've always taught others. So I taught other people how to find Amazon products. I'm teaching people still how to find ebook topics and publish profitable ebooks. But this latest course is really cool. So it's really helping you make some smart decisions around figuring out if buying a business is for you. I've got a profiling quiz as well, which takes you through your strengths and your background and your goals and helps you pick the best business model. So not everybody should run a SaaS business and take on a huge software enterprise. And other people probably have higher ambitions than $1,000 WordPress sites. So we get you on a sort of a spectrum of skills, tech, budget, availability to work on it, things like that. And then we take you through what your buying criteria are and how to find these deals, how to negotiate good prices and good terms, and then how to do a really smooth migration and then grow these businesses, because you can double your value in a few months with a few well-executed growth plans. And that's really fun. So I love working with people to find the deals and to evaluate them and help grow them. And I've got a program called Freedom Navigator. So there's a book I wrote, which you can get for free through the show notes, called Freedom Navigator, which is all about lots of case studies on how I've done this. So you can see big deals and small deals. There's a free training, and then there's also a course. So the course is really comprehensive and takes you through all the things you need to know to do this professionally. It's not a thing you'd want to get wrong or just sort of stumble around with a bit of trial and error. It's important to have a clear plan. Otherwise, you just look at millions of listings without a short list. It's like going to buy a house and having even decided which country you want to buy the house in. You have to narrow it down and know what your budget is, and how much do you want to renovate or just move in and it's all there ready to live in. I haven't thought of that analogy before. It's quite good. Do some criteria for your purchase. And then we help you assess those deals. So I will, or one of my team, depending on what the subject of the deal is, we'll do a one-on-one deal review with you as well and help make sure all the red flags we've checked. If there's anything that looks wrong, we'll look at what we like about it. Any questions you should go back to the vendor or push the broker on or negotiate over. And then we do most of the teaching in live weekly group calls. And there's that little bit of one-on-one and also lots of modules to go through at your own time, lots of resources, questions to ask vendors, checklists for your WordPress. So I really love helping people do this and even helping them decide if they should do it, how fast they want to go, how aggressively. There's a whole sort of stream of activity that's so fast that you can just jump into and collect the cash flow the second you buy the business. So there's something very nice about doing a transaction and then having a new income stream. It's not like buying a job, it's buying an income stream. It's really, really cool. And there's loads of good deals out there, quality businesses and good platforms that make it easy to go shopping. And it's really fun sort of mapping out what a portfolio might look like. Do you want to do 10 small deals, 2 or 3 big ones? What industry? It's pretty thrilling stuff. I'm addicted. I was only going to buy a couple. I've done 29 of them now, but they average about 30% return. So why not? It's a great model. And I think more people should think about it.
Yes, it's really eye-opening because not many people out there talking about it, right? We have a lot talk about some traditional ways of creating passive income. And online business is so powerful. We saw it in COVID, right? Things have to run online. And I truly believe you need to have the online sources of income as well and that flexibility. So thank you, Sophie, so much. I want to wrap up the episode by asking you for maybe one last tip or advice you would like to give to people who are listening, who wants to start this, or in general, entrepreneurs, whichever comes to your mind.
Oh, one tip. Well, along the same theme, it's sort of a bit of a bundle of things, but that ongoing learning is so critical to your success. So I still have a coach at great expense, as well as providing coaching to others. And I do a lot of courses and I listen to a lot of podcasts, and there's some great podcasts out there. So if there's one thing that will determine your success, it's how receptive you are to learning and directing your own learning. So you can't all be good at everything. Like I could sit there and learn how to code my Xero. I'm just not going to. I could sit and try and understand what the developers are actually talking about. I think I'll leave that to someone else. But if you've got a strength and it's almost like a gift, you've got something you really care about, you really want to design a lifestyle that works for you, you'll have to put in some work, not just doing the doing, but learning and getting the right strategy to get there. And it's not always obvious to you, and it doesn't always come just by doing hard work. I think there's something really healthy about an external perspective, whether it's reading books or podcasts or a coach or a course. You pretty much need to be a lifelong learner to be in business. E-commerce changes so fast. What I did when I launched my Amazon business is if I went and repeated that now, it would be a disaster. It would not work. The stuff that you would do on a blog pre-AI is going to change. Like if I'm sitting there with content sites asleep at the wheel, I'm going to be left off Google one day. It's going to all be evolving, and not everybody wants to put that effort in to stay current. So if you enjoy learning, you're really well set up to succeed as an entrepreneur. And if you resist change, probably stick with the day job because it's quite exciting. You should get a rush off that chaos. And then it becomes a game and it's fun and you enjoy winning. And, if you lose, it's part of the game. And if you're not earning, you're learning. So that's always a good thing to keep in mind. But the timing never feels right to jump in, but it's a big leap of faith to start something new or sort of change your identity. I was an employee, now I'm doing my own thing. And I was building businesses, now I'm buying businesses. These things are big shifts in how you see yourself and how others see you. And it's a bit awkward making the transition. But if you surround yourself with other like-minded people, and that's what coaches and courses and communities like yours can do, then it makes it a lot easier, because there's always people that put you down when you're trying to do this stuff. I had so many people tell me Amazon was a scam and then watch me sell it for $1 million. So not a scam. Not a scam, but you keep thinking that and telling me I should stick with the day job and I'm a terrible mother, or no, nobody said that, but you kind of get tugged in so many different directions. So you're always busy, and you just have to throw yourself at something that sounds right with a group that sounds right for you and jump at it.
Yeah. And I'm sure you said you have 29, but I'm sure I didn't ask you this, but there must be on the journey a lot of failures, a lot of mistakes, and losing money as well, because sometimes we just see the end results, but there were many days that you didn't know, you said, how to figure it out. And the most important quality, I think, is being resourceful. Like, okay, I don't know yet, where can I learn, or what can I do today to get one more customer or one more client? Being resourceful is what helped me. I also teach everything organically because I believe it's relationship based and it's a quality customers that stays. And also I see a lot of entrepreneurs throwing some basic budget and the last money they have into ads, but they don't get that return on investment. So I really agree with what you said. And yes, thank you so much for sharing your story, Sophie. I really am excited for everyone to hear this episode and learn from you. And we're going to make sure to put a link to your website and way to reach out to you if anyone has any questions or would like to work with you.
Lovely. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and love to talk to any of your listeners who keen to get some help with this. And thank you again. It's been really fun talking about it.
Thank you, Sophie. This was so much fun. Thank you guys for listening. It was a pleasure, and I will see you in the next episode.